We are taught that success requires obsession, that caring more equals achieving more, that the people who make it are the ones who want it most desperately. But Charles Bukowski discovered a dark psychological truth that nobody wants to admit. The moment you stop caring is the moment everything starts to go right. You have probably lived this backwards. You wanted the job so badly you bombed the interview. You chased the relationship until it ran from you. You gripped your dreams so tightly they slipped through your fingers like water. And somewhere in the exhaustion of trying too hard, you wondered if you were fundamentally broken. You are not broken. You are just operating under a terrible lie. The lie that effort and desperation are the same thing. The lie that caring more makes you more likely to succeed. Charles Bukowski spent decades proving the opposite, and what he found will disturb you. We live inside a modern trap. Society has built an entire infrastructure around the worship of effort. Hustle culture, grind mentality, the idea that if you are not obsessed with your goals, you do not deserve them. Every motivational speech, every success story, every productivity guru screams the same message. Care more, try harder, want it more than anyone else. But here is what they do not tell you. Desperation has a smell. Anxiety has a frequency. When you care too much, when you grip too tightly, people can sense it. Opportunities can sense it. Even random chance seems to sense it. You walk into rooms radiating need, and doors close before you reach them. You pursue what you want with such intensity that you repel the very thing you are chasing. This is the paradox of effort. The more desperately you need something, the less likely you are to get it. Not because the universe is cruel, not because you are unlucky, but because desperation changes how you move through the world. It makes you rigid when you need to be flexible. It makes you transparent when you need to be mysterious. It turns you into someone who is trying to extract value rather than create it. Charles Bukowski understood this at a cellular level. He was not a philosopher in the traditional sense. He was a man who lived at the bottom of the social pyramid and discovered a psychology that most people never see. He sorted mail at a soul-crushing post office for 12 years. He was a nobody until age 49. He did not find success young. He found it when he stopped needing it. He drank himself into oblivion. He got rejected by publishers for decades. And somewhere in that wreckage, he stumbled onto a principle that would define his entire life. Do not try. Those two words appeared on his tombstone. They sound nihilistic. They sound like surrender. But they represent something far more sophisticated than giving up. They represent the understanding that success and desperation are inversely related. That the moment you release your death grip on outcome is the moment outcome becomes possible. Most people never learn this. They spend their entire lives in a state of chronic wanting. They tie their self-worth to achievements that have not happened yet. They live in perpetual anxiety about whether they will get what they need. And this anxiety becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because the person who needs success too badly is the person who repels it most effectively. Charles Bukowski called this philosophy not trying. But that phrase has been catastrophically misunderstood. People think he meant laziness, apathy, some kind of slacker mentality where you stop working and wait for life to happen. That is exactly backwards. Bukowski worked harder than almost anyone. He wrote constantly. He produced novel after novel, poem after poem, story after story. But he did it without the desperate attachment to outcome that destroys most artists. He did not write to become famous. He did not write to prove himself. He wrote because the alternative was not writing. And that felt worse. This is the core of detachment psychology. You still act, you still work, you still move toward what you want, but you divorce the action from the neurotic need for a specific result. You write the novel without needing it to be published. You apply for the job without needing to get it. You approach the person without needing them to love you back. This sounds simple. It is psychologically revolutionary. Because what happens when you stop needing the outcome is that you become competent again. Your hands stop shaking. Your mind stops racing. You make clear decisions instead of desperate ones. You show up as someone who has value to offer rather than someone who needs to extract it. The psychology behind this is called the backwards law. The philosopher Alan Watts described it perfectly. The more you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become. Because pursuing something reinforces the belief that you do not have it. The very act of chasing happiness is a reminder that you are unhappy. Bukowski lived this principle in reverse. He accepted that life was fundamentally difficult, that suffering was built into the structure of existence, that most days would be mediocre at best, and paradoxically, this acceptance gave him a kind of freedom that optimists never find. Because when you stop needing life to be good, it stops being quite so bad. His poem, The Laughing Heart, captures this perfectly. Your life is your life. Do not let it be clubbed into dank submission. Be on the watch. There are ways out. There is light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. He was not telling you to be optimistic. He was telling you to stop surrendering to the voices that demand you care more, try harder, need more, desperately. The psychological principle at work here is detachment. Not the detachment of someone who has given up. The detachment of someone who has stopped confusing their identity with their outcomes. This is one of the most difficult mental shifts a human being can make. Most people build their entire sense of self around whether they succeed or fail. They are their job title. They are their relationship status. They are their bank account balance. And this makes them psychologically fragile, because every setback becomes an existential threat. Every rejection becomes proof that they are worthless. Every failure becomes a referendum on their right to exist. Bukowski rejected this entirely. He knew he was a mediocre postal worker. He knew he was an alcoholic. He knew he had failed at almost everything conventional society valued. And instead of letting that destroy him, he used it as a foundation. He built his identity on the one thing nobody could take away from him: his willingness to keep going regardless of outcome. This is the remedy for the modern meaning crisis. You stop attaching your worth to variables you cannot control. You stop needing external validation to feel okay. You start operating from a place of fundamental acceptance. Not acceptance that everything is fine. Acceptance that everything is difficult, and you are going to keep moving anyway. John Fante understood this from a different angle. Fante was Bukowski's literary hero. He wrote about the desperation of the artist more honestly than almost anyone. In Ask the Dust, his character Arturo Bandini is consumed by the need to be a great writer. Every rejection letter destroys him. Every moment of not writing fills him with self-hatred. He is the embodiment of the trap Bukowski escaped. Fante showed what happens when you care too much. When your dreams become a prison. When every day you do not achieve your goals feels like evidence of your fundamental inadequacy. His characters suffer because they cannot detach. They cannot separate the work from the need for the work to save them. Bukowski read Fante and learned the lesson Fante could not quite live. Stop needing to be saved. Stop needing your art or your career or your relationships to validate your existence. Do the work because the work is what you do, not because the work will make you worthy. Here is where this philosophy collides with modern life. You live in a world that actively punishes detachment. Social media rewards performative caring. Your career demands you demonstrate passion. Your relationships require you to prove your commitment. The entire structure of contemporary society is built on the assumption that caring more equals being more. But the data tells a different story. The most successful people are often the ones who care the least about specific outcomes. They care deeply about the process, about the craft, about showing up. But they have developed a psychological distance from whether any individual attempt succeeds or fails. This is practical nihilism, not the nihilism of despair. The nihilism of liberation. You accept that nothing has inherent meaning, that success and failure are temporary labels applied to random outcomes, that your worth is not determined by whether you get what you want. And this acceptance makes you dangerous, because now you can take risks without being destroyed by them. Ernest Hemingway had a version of this. He called it grace under pressure, the ability to maintain composure when everything is falling apart, to keep functioning when most people would collapse. This is not about suppressing emotion. It is about not letting emotion dictate your behavior. Bukowski took it further. He said the problem is not that life is hard. The problem is that we expect it to be easy. We have been sold a fantasy where if we just care enough and try enough and want enough, things will work out. And when they do not, we assume we are the problem. We assume we did not want it badly enough. This is the great modern lie. That desire determines outcome. That passion equals performance. That if you just believe hard enough, reality will bend to accommodate you. Bukowski spent his entire career dismantling this delusion. He showed that the people who survive are not the ones who want it most. They are the ones who can keep going when wanting it stops mattering. Louis-Ferdinand Céline demonstrated this from the darkest possible angle. His novel, Journey to the End of the Night, is a descent into nihilism so complete it becomes transcendent. His character sees through every social pretense, every motivational lie, every comforting delusion. And what he finds underneath is not despair. It is clarity. When you stop caring about maintaining illusions, you start seeing reality. And reality is this: most things will not work out. Most efforts will fail. Most days will be difficult. And your job is not to change that. Your job is to keep moving anyway. So what do you do with this? How do you stop caring without giving up entirely? This is the integration. Here is the protocol. Step 1. Divorce the process from the outcome. You care deeply about showing up, about doing the work, about maintaining your standards. You stop caring whether any specific attempt succeeds. Step 2. Produce volume. Ignore reception. You write the book without needing it to be published. You start the business without needing it to make you rich. You pursue the relationship without needing it to complete you. Step 3. Treat indifference as a superpower. This is not cynicism. This is survival strategy. Because the moment you stop needing things to go right is the moment you become capable of making them go right. Your hands steady. Your mind clears. You make better decisions because you are not making them from a place of desperation. Charles Bukowski survived the worst and came out the other side with something most people never find. Not happiness, not success by conventional metrics, but a kind of unshakable resilience. The knowledge that he could keep going regardless of circumstance, that his worth was not determined by whether the world validated him. This is the power of surviving the worst. Once you have been at the bottom and discovered you can function there, nothing can threaten you the same way again. You stop needing safety. You stop needing certainty. You stop needing life to be anything other than what it is. Here is your call. Stop trying so hard. Not because effort does not matter, but because desperate effort is worse than no effort at all. Do the work. Show up. Maintain your standards. But release your death grip on whether it works out the way you planned. The things you want most are waiting for you on the other side of not needing them. The success you chase runs from desperation and walks toward confidence. And confidence comes from knowing you will be okay whether you get what you want or not. Bukowski left us with this: what matters most is how well you walk through the fire. Not whether you avoid the fire, not whether the fire stops burning. How well you walk through it. Because the fire never stops. The difficulty never ends. And the only question that matters is whether you can keep moving when nothing is working out. Ask yourself this: what is the one thing you are chasing so hard that you are pushing it away? Write it down in the comments, then let it go. Stop caring so much. Start surviving better. The rest will follow.